Hello, YouTube. I am going to make a really unusual, intriguing, and hopefully quite interesting presentation for my Wastecast today. Just been into town, got my hair cut. I don't really have much hair. My fringe is kind of like flogging a dead horse. It's actually repulsive, but if I just keep myself at this angle, then it doesn't look quite so bad. Let's just move that there, frame the square the picture up a bit better. I think that will do. And select the video so we get a bit more of an image. So I was reading to a friend last night. There's this fucking bumwash conspiracy theory website with loads of esoteric, new age, hippie, trippy bullshit on it. And there's this one article I read about a star called Alderbaran. It's the 14th or 13th brightest star in the sky. And it's sort of like the most relevant, significant, historical and cultural star which exists. And it's one of the closest stars to us as well. It's like 60 light years away. So, interestingly, before you start to talk about or think about or expect me to start talking about UFOs and anti-gravity, to travel through space vast distance, you don't need anti-gravity because there is only very mild and weak gravitational forces in space, except black holes, and avoid them at all costs. But there is probably technological advances that might have made it possible to go those 60 light years, as fucked up as that sounds. And there's a lot of conjecture, and it talks about Nazis in this video, and obviously I want to unilaterally condemn their actions, but the occult side of it and the sort of previous cultural associations throughout various different peoples across the world using the star Aldebaran as have you ever hit the bullseye on a dartboard? That's where that name comes from. That's it's very intriguing and interesting, but obviously I'm not for a nanosecond going to endorse the Nazi Party. But the research that I've done, is if you don't find it interesting, something wrong with you, whether you're a flag shagger or a pro-Palestine at these marches. I think that cultural significance, cultural heritage is really important, and it's really interesting because it's sort of the thing that defines our identity. Just seen Kim Kardashian talking about the moon landings on Twitter. I'd like to I don't know what I think about that. It's a real shame, I think, that her and Kanye have split up and he started talking about Nazi bullshit. I think he's putting it on, to be honest with you, and I could probably posit a rationale behind that. They've got a big family, and we're very lucky. They're both pretty lovely, talented people, and their relationships irreparably broken down. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to read you this thing, but I don't know. I'm delusional. I've got delusional disorder. That's my diagnosis, But I'm not suggesting Kim is delusional, but lots of people suggest the Earth is flat, and they have confirmation bias. We know this isn't true, and a lot of the stuff in this research is demonstrably untrue, although presumed to be possible, maybe. Anyway, let's get into it. I've had a nice day in Western City. I didn't have a fucking nice day. I went on a wait and return taxi, got what's left of my hair cut, and now I'm going to make a little YouTube video just because I'm bored, and it's a really interesting subject that I think everybody in modern society should know a bit more about, because whether you don't believe in horoscopes or you can believe in astronomy without disbelieving astrology, and if you look at the kind of Fermi paradox and which sort of says it's weird that there's 2 trillion galaxies, each with 400 billion stars, all with potential planets, exoplanets around them. Why have we not reached, intelligent life. You've also got something that sort of countenances that, which is the construction of DNA and RNA to create prokaryotic or eukaryotic organisms. What that means, without a long explanation, is that the guy who discovered DNA, right? He, if you look at intelligent design that religious people believe in, I'm not religious, but they say like it's the guy who discovered it, got a Nobel Peace Prize. Can't even remember his name. It was like Francis Crick, Linus Pauling, something like this. It's a famous scientist. Anyway, he said when he discovered DNA, like a crystalline double helix structure, which had formed, supposedly in the primordial sludge on its own, with 4 things. I always want to say attack, decay, sustain and release from music production, but I don't even know enough. I'm not a geneticist at all. So he said it was more likely that a hurricane being formed in a junkyard could have assembled a fully functioning 747 jumbo jet than it was for DNA to assemble itself. And then the head fuck bit, if you read into it, DNA, right, has to exist, which is fucking unlikely, like 1 in 200 trillion. And then the RNA, which reads the DNA, so for single-celled organisms like amoebas and bacteria, they just have a DNA cell. There's one cell, right? But they have to copy the cell. And I don't know how that works. Read some good books on morphogenetic fields by Rupert Sheldrake. They were quite interesting, and fucking LD research. Nobody really knows how life came about on Earth. There's lots of very interesting stories about how it did, which, probably symbolically do hold some weight or some truth. A bit like what I'm about to read. Although it will be ostensibly shown as being bullshit, probably there is a grain of truth in there somewhere. The X-Files was a pretty good series, mostly apparently based on declassified files. The Foo Fighters, the band the Foo Fighters, it says in the leaflet inside their CD that Foo Fighters were a classified code name for documents that got declassified after 50 years. If these super manoeuvrable craft that they were in the dogfights, the Allied forces, the RAF, and the rest of the Allied forces were encountering these manoeuvrable glowing craft, they weren't allowed to tell anyone about it, and they got codenamed Foo Fighters. That's where the band Foo Fighters came from. So those cultural references and stuff, and I'll get into more of those in a bit. But yeah, the idea that intelligent design, so in a nutshell, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the way it works is that the RNA has to read the DNA, and the RNA have to be in the right temperate and kind of environmental conditions to exist, and then coexist next to some DNA, and it has to fit. So it's like a key going into, I've got a picture of me and Lily on there. That's pretty sad, isn't it? The picture, if you can imagine a lock, this is my room key for my door at Signet, but if you could imagine like a lake that had trace amounts of nickel and copper and cadmium and aluminium and steel and iron or whatever, fuck knows. Probably ain't going to have trace elements of aluminium in it, but you know what I mean. And you just found like a Yale lock and the key to fit into it, you would just be like dumbfounded. And that's how statistically unlikely RNA and DNA being present at the same time to make multi-celled organisms like us and plants and all that sort of shit, and not just kind of not just single-celled amoebas. But bollocks all of that. Let's read this fucking document, because I've already wasted 10 minutes talking to you. Don't want to look at this for too long. Let's put my face in just for fun, and open this. So the star I want to talk about is called Alderbaran. Alderbaran. And here's what it's about. So Alderbaran is a celestial anchor and an interstellar nexus of esoteric fascism. So, introduction. The bifurcated lure of Alderbaran. IA defining the stellar nexus, celestial fact and esoteric fiction. Alderbaran, designated Alpha Tauri, presents a profound case study in the intersection of verifiable astronomical history and persistent esoteric mythology. As the 13th brightest star in the night sky, This red giant occupies a crucial location within the constellation Taurus, where it conspicuously marks the bull's right eye. Its proximity to the ecliptic grants it significant visibility across both the northern and southern hemispheres, establishing it as one of the 57 fundamental stars utilised in celestial navigation. For millennia, Alderbaran has served as a reliable temporal marker and directional beacon, its consistent appearance linking human cultures across continents and epochs. Yet, in the post-World War II environment, this celestial anchor became a conceptual nucleus for a complex global conspiracy narrative rooted in German esoteric movements. This analysis aims to meticulously document Alderbaran's verifiable historical and cultural significance, contrasting it sharply with the detailed pseudo-historical overlay that posits the star as the ancestral homeland and ultimate interstellar destination of a surviving Nazi elite. Don't know about that, but we'll see what it says. The documentation of these claims, including concepts such as psychic channeling, vril force, and the black sun, is necessary to understand the evolution of esoteric neo-Nazism. However, these fantastical narratives must be analysed not as factual history, but as evidence of ideological mythogenesis designed to retroactively justify and glorify the collapse of the Third Reich. Ethical precondition, the condemnation of the crimes of National Socialism. So it's imperative that any live without that. It's imperative that any scholarly examination of the historical and symbolic materials appropriated by the Nazi regime, NSDAP, as it was voted in or whatever before it took over the world, or tried to anyway, begins with an explicit denunciation of its heinous crimes. The philosophy and organisations analysed within this report, including the Tula Society, which helped lay the ideological foundation for NSDAP, and the SS, which oversaw the execution of state atrocities, were dedicated to promoting racial anti-Semitism and enacting policies of genocide, mass murder, and profound human rights violations. The concept of Hyperborea, Aryan supremacy, and the pursuit of occult power were leveraged to support regime responsible for the Holocaust and a catastrophic world war. The analysis of these esoteric claims proceeds only with the understanding that the actions and policies of the Nazi Party were fundamentally criminal and deserving of absolute condemnation. Alderbaran, celestial beacon, arbiter of time, and cultural anchor. The prominence of Alderbaran, situated in the head of the Hyades cluster, ensured its adoption as a significant figure in timekeeping, navigation, and spiritual mythologies across diverse civilizations. Its reddish hue, often associating it with the planet Mars, further enhanced its metaphysical perceived link to strength, courage, and authority. The ancient Mesopotamian and Persian mandate. In the Fertile Crescent, Alderbaran held immense logistical and symbolic authority. Around 3000 BC in Babylonia, the star was revered as the leading star of stars. They were pretty hooked up, the Babylonians, you know. This high designation stemmed from cosmological reality that the constellation Taurus's arrival in the night sky coincided precisely with the vernal equinox, which for the Babylonians marked the beginning of their new year. Thus, Alderbaran was intrinsically linked to the cyclic renewal of time and the agricultural calendar too. The Mesopotamians also granted it the title Messenger of Light, emphasising its role in announcing the changing seasons and symbolically guiding celestial events. This veneration continued in ancient Persia, where Alderbaran was enshrined as one of the four royal stars alongside Regulus, Antares, and Fomalhaut. These stars functioned as celestial guardians, marking the four cardinal points of the sky and defining the seasons of the year. The status imbued Alderbaran with an aura of leadership and supreme authority. Metaphysically, it was believed to bestow honour and success upon those who honoured its energy, simultaneously carrying a strict warning against the dangers of hubris and arrogance. The assignment of such profound moral and temporal significance highlights... Oh, I think someone's coming. Okay, there was no one coming. It was I had to cut the footage there just because it sounded like there was. Very creaky floorboards in this little building, much smaller than the main site here at Signet Hewstoke. Anyway, the temporal significance highlights the star's foundational importance in the structure of ancient Western and Middle Eastern cosmology. Again, in Arabic, so the Arabic legacy of Alderbaran, the name Alderbaran, as it's known globally today, is a direct linguistic and astronomical legacy of the Islamic Golden Age. The modern appellation is a transliteration of the Arabic Alderbaran, meaning the follower. This designation is derived from the observation that the star conspicuously trails the Pleiades star cluster, M45, across the sky. In some instances, the Arabic name Alderbaran was applied collectively to the entire Hyades cluster, further cementing its role as the dominant beacon of this stellar grouping. The widespread adoption and standardisation of Aldebaran's name, along with over 200 other Arabic star names, demonstrate the scientific and cultural hegemony of the Islamic Empire, where rulers emphasised and rewarded the pursuit of knowledge for nomadic and maritime cultures across the Arabian Peninsula. It served as a crucial logistical thing, providing a reliable reference point for navigation, timekeeping, solidifying its identity as the celestial follower, defining the direction of the motion relative to more numerous Pleiades. If you find that I'm now shit at reading, even though I did drama at college, it's because of my meds and my insomnia. Makes these videos a bit less watchable, doesn't it? But, you know, cultural constellations of the East, China, and the celestial net. So in ancient Chinese astronomy, Aldebaran's importance was viewed not through singular proper naming, but through its integration into larger functional asterisms. I don't know what an asterism is. Please Google it and send me an email. Aldebaran and the surrounding Hyades cluster are included within the asterism known as B. B, which translates to the net, visually represents a net with a long handle designed for catching animals such as rabbits. Logistically, this asterism held immense importance in the 19th lunar mansion. Lunar mansions were key divisions of the sky used to track the path of the moon and the planets, providing essential coordinates for astronomical and astrological practices. The symbolic significance of Aldebaran therefore rests within its collective function as a critical knot or point within this celestial net, highlighting the Chinese focus on functional groupings over the individualized naming convention common to Arabic or Greek traditions. Veneration in the New World and the Pacific Rim. So the recognition of Aldebaran extends to indigenous cultures far removed from the centres of classical astronomy, underscoring its universal prominence. For the Ceres people of northwestern Mexico, Aldebaran is a deeply integrated element of their cosmology, known by several names, including Cuito, Hant, Kalajak, Ipapio. Logistically, I hope I said that right, its appearance governed their calendar, as the lunar month corresponding to October is named Cuito Yao, or Aldebaran's path. Symbolically, it's regarded as the source of illumination, providing light for the Pleiades, which they perceive as 7 women giving birth. This relationship, Aldebaran as the single bright source of light leading and illuminating the group, reaffirms its universal image as the guiding star. Among certain indigenous Australian peoples from the Clarence River region of northeastern New South Wales, Aldebaran is linked to a profound ancestral narrative. The star is identified as the ancestor Carambal. The mythology recounts how Carambal stole another man's wife, was tracked down and burned out of the tree where he hid. His transformation from conflict to celestial object occurred as he ascended to the sky as smoke, subsequently becoming the star Aldebaran. This narrative frames the star not just as a navigational marker, but as an eternal monument to ancestral presence and personal information arising from fiery conflict. I'll export this to a Google Docs. I never do tables in these things. The precursors to cosmic flight, Theosophy, and the German Occult Foundation. So The foundation for the Alderbaran cosmic conspiracy was laid by occult groups that fused pre-existing literary concepts with new political imperatives in the early 20th century, specifically the Tula Society and the global influence of Theosophy. So the Tula Society, if you haven't heard of them, here's some historical context and ideological incubation. So the Tula Society, founded in 1918 by Rudolf von Subotendorf, functioned as a clandestine Munich-based organisation deeply committed to national mysticism and radical points. Although it formally dissolved around 1925, its influence far outlasted its active lifespan, largely due to its foundational role in promoting racial anti-Semitism and anti-communism within German intellectual circles following World War One. The significance of the Tula Society, which, they're interesting but a bit of a bunch of wrong-uns, is structural. It served as a critical incubator for the nascent National Socialist movement. Its membership list reads like a who's who of early Nazi sympathisers. You've got people like Rudolf Hess, Alfred Rosenberg, Hans Frank, Dietrich Eckart, Rosenberg, a key ideologue and later responsible for the ideological creation of the NSDAP after 1934, cemented many of the racial and conspiracy theories that would define the Third Reich's worldview, including strong anti-Soviet positions. While the Tula Society itself did not develop flying saucers or specifically target Alderbaran, it establishes the political catalyst and mystical climate centred on myths of Aryan superiority and hidden pure northern homeland, Thule, that made the subsequent acceptance of Hyperborean or cosmic origin myths possible. Helena Blavatsky was a very interesting lady. She started something called Theosophy, sort of, with some other people, and the transubstantiation of something called Vril. Got a book all about it, which I've started to translate. I bought the book, right? There's a shit movie called Iron Sky. There's another shit movie called The Coming Race. This is a book, but I've been trying to use AI to translate it, because if you read it, it's just really difficult. There's loads of odd words that you don't even use anymore, and it's like it was written in 1871. It talks about it, I expect, in this research, but I've got this book and I'm going to try and translate it into modern day slang, but it's really difficult with a large language model because it keeps kind of talking like it was like one of the characters out of like kidulthood or adulthood. It's like Noel Clarke. When I say convert it to modern slang, it starts like, I don't know, talking like a roadman, and that's not really the kind of intonation that I want. Anyway, Helena Blavatsky, let's go back to the document. So Theosophy and the transubstantiation of Vril. The conceptual hardware for the interstellar narrative originates with the term Vril. This term was coined by English writer Edward Bulwer Lytton in his 1871 novel The Coming Race. In the narrative, Vril is presented as a psychic vital energy possessed by the subterranean race, the Vrilyar, granting them superior powers including telepathy and telekinesis. Madness. Interestingly, they didn't actually know who wrote this book for a long time. They didn't know. It was like anonymous. Apparently it's what Bovril is named after. Vril became a buzzword in Victorian England for any kind of life-giving elixir, and bovine means from a cow. So yeah, that's where the name Bovril, which was a healthy drink in Victorian times if you were malnourished, that's where it came from, because so many people had read the book and no one knew for like 30 years who wrote it. He claimed the title of writing it after it had been published and read by loads of people. Interesting stuff. Anyway, the critical intellectual bridge was forged by Helena Blavatsky and Theosophy. Contemporary critics like Lytton's novel viewed Lytton's novel as satire. That's the red book I just showed you. But occult circles regarded it as an essential Romana clef, believing Lytton was revealing genuine esoteric secrets. Blavatsky adopted Vril into her theosophical doctrine, defining it as a real independent force and a synonym for secret natural forces, accessible only through occult practices. She fundamentally elevated the concept from mere fiction into a metaphysical fact. In her work, The Secret Doctrine, which I haven't read, she claimed that the inhabitants of the lost civilization of Atlantis had utilised vril to construct colossal structures. Crucially, Blavatsky asserted that the knowledge of this powerful psychic energy was preserved by a small group of surviving priests, the masters, who passed it down to a select few, enabling the mastery of all of nature. This theosophical framework provided the theoretical justification for the later claim that the vril could be harnessed as a limitless energy source through unconventional, non-mechanical means. Psychic channeling and technological conduit. The fusion of the Tula Society's political radicalism with Theosophy's metaphysical energy source provides the ultimate justification for the alleged development of Nazi aerospace technology. Blavatsky's assertion that vril, as a psychic vital energy, was preserved by unseen masters and accessed by initiates established the precedent for psychic channeling as the necessary technological conduit. Although the subsequent vril society is acknowledged to be a fictitious entity, not fictitious, there were historical templates such as the, get me for saying this in one go, Reichsarbeitsgemeinschaft, die Kommende Deutschland, RAG, which published pamphlets claiming elaborate technology suitable for utilising the vril force, merging occult terminology with pseudoscience. These groups dedicated themselves to the theoretical search for vril, believing Lytton's fictional work was a covert revelation of truth. This established a cultural and intellectual environment in which the idea of accessing transcendental knowledge, specifically blueprints for anti-gravity crafts, pretty detailed shit to channel, isn't it really? I mean, maybe a bit of automatic writing, I'd sort of buy that, but I don't know about blueprints for spaceships. It's fucking, especially for somebody with no engineering knowledge, the fuck she's going to draw it. Like architectural drawings, sounds like bullshit, but goes on to talk about telepathic contact, which we all know is real, but with superior non-human entities, ultimate masters, don't know about those, became plausible within these esoteric circles. I mean, it was 100 years ago. They didn't have the internet to debunk the shit out of conspiracies then. So, yeah. Symbolic subversion, the Black Sun, and neo-Nazi mythogenesis. It's a nice word, isn't it? Mythogenesis. The third key element in the Alderbaran narrative is the Black Sun symbol. You might know Black Sun Empire if you like drum and bass. It's interesting that when you try and Google the Empire of the Black Sun, all you get is loads of stuff about Black Sun Empire. I'm not saying that they're like a subterfuge for some secret mystical organisation, but like they are some of my favourite producers, Anyway, an emblem whose power derives entirety from its post-war historical ambiguity and reinvention. It didn't really give much information about the Black Sun, and that's really the most important bit. The Wellsburg mosaic, Himmler's ceremonial centre, the physical symbol that later became known as the Black Sun, originated in the Wellsburg castle in Westphalia. Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS, acquired the castle in the 30s with the intent of transforming it into a spiritual and ceremonial centre for the SS. Between 1936 and 1932, the castle underwent extensive rebuilding. The symbol is an isolated architectural feature, specifically a mosaic set into the white marble floor of the North Tower, often referred to as the Obergruppen Führerrassel. Sorry, yeah, you can just Google it. The design consists of 12 dark green, radially overlaid sig runes, structured like a sun wheel, echoing the symbol of the SS organisation. Crucially, verifiable historical analysis indicates that this specific design appeared nowhere else in Nazi Germany. The historical vacuum of meaning. The enduring potency of the Black Sun symbol rests on the fact that during the period of the Third Reich, there are no known sources that provide any information regarding the symbol's official name, its intended meaning, or its symbolic significance to the SS. While scholars have suggested possible inspiration from decorative Merovingian discs, this connection remains unconfirmed by any reliable sources. So the profound lack of historical documentation regarding the mosaic's purpose allowed the symbol in the context of post-war revisionism to absorb immense projected esoteric meaning. Had the symbol been widely documented and understood during the war, its significance would have been fixed. Because it was an isolated, anonymous place of Himmler's private architectural project, it became the perfect vessel onto which esotericists could project the highest levels of cosmic and technological secrecy, transforming an architectural oddity into a clandestine emblem of hidden mystical power. Wilhelm Landig and the Schwarz-Sonn invention. The symbol's contemporary identity as the Black Sun, Schwarz-Sonn, is entirely a creation of post-1945 esoteric neo-Nazi movement. The name and the concept were invented by a former SS officer, Wilhelm Landig. Landig designed the Black Sun concept as a specific substitute for the discredited Nazi swastika. Landig retroactively defined the Black Sun as an emblem representing a mystical energy source, or inner sun. Like this book is about the earth being hollow. They all live in the centre of the earth. There's a sun in the middle of the earth. They all live forever. Apparently. A holy grail or something. Who knows? They believed it necessary for the spiritual and biological renewal of an Aryan race, which is just fucked up racist bullshit. The widespread association of the Wellsburg mosaic with this term was cemented later, primarily through a 1991 German novel. The Black Sun thus represents a crucial shift, the movement away from overtly political symbols towards a symbol that ties the Nazi ideology directly into cosmological and mystical concepts like alchemy, transformation, and the dark night of the soul, effectively providing a powerful, secretive and continuing identity for extremist groups. The Tula Society, Vril Society, Black Sun symbol, Alderbaran connection, none in any verifiable historical documents. Oh, my light's gone out. That's not very good. There we go. Right. Alderbaran hypothesis, interstellar flight and the unscrupulous evidence. The final synthesized narrative linking Alderbaran to Nazi technology forms the centerpiece of modern esoteric neo-Nazism, specifically utilizing the pseudoscientific claims of the Vril Society's achievements. The fictitious Vril Society and the Hyperborean narrative. The Vril Society legend proposes a cosmic lineage for the Aryan race, defining Alderbaran as its ancestral source. Esoteric neo-Nazism views the Aryan race as having divine origins tied to the mythical polar homeland of Hyperborea. Post-war writers sought to establish a definitive extraterrestrial connection for this divine origin, concluding that Alderbaran, situated in the constellation of Taurus, and Shambhala, not the festival, a hidden realm, that's what it's about, that's what it's named after, Shambhala, are the original celestial homeland of the Aryans. This premise transformed the red giant star from a mere historical marker into a mythical physical safe harbour. The specific legend, popularised in works by authors like Lewis Powell and Jacques Bergier in 1960, asserts that the fictitious Vril Society developed as an outgrowth of the Tula Society, dedicated to esoteric studies related to the Hyperborean ancestry, telepathic contact, and that gravity-defying blueprints. I'm not telepathic, for the record. I can hear my own inner monologue in my head, and that's bad enough, but I've never heard anyone else's voice. So it's sort of like a one-way thing. The core of the interstellar hypothesis rests entirely upon the Vril concept of psychic energy channeled from extraterrestrial sources. The Vril Societies claim to have established direct telepathic contact with entities residing in the Aldebaran solar system as early as the 1920s. This communication, achieved through psychic channeling, a direct application of Blavatsky's theosophical principles regarding Vril as accessible psychic energy, allegedly provided the Vril Society with highly advanced, non-conventional technical specifications. The information received was described as blueprints necessary for creating gravity-defying flying machines, sidestepping the need for conventional aerodynamic propulsion. This dramatic claim provides the indispensable justification for the impossible technological leap required for Nazi Germany to achieve space travel. The Third Reich's secret arsenal, Hannibal, Vril and the V7 craft. Corroborating evidence for this narrative comes exclusively from pseudo-historical texts, and post-war conspiracy theories regarding whatever the fuck those Reich flying discs are. These unscrupulous sources detail a clandestine SS program that developed saucer-shaped aircraft, often named Hannibal and Vril craft, allegedly powered by harnessed Vril force. I think there was a bit more science behind it than that if you really dig into your conspiracy theories, but these concepts merged the political mysticism of the SS with the promise of unlimited esoteric power. The culminating technological claim is that construction of the interstellar model V7 craft, sometimes linked to the fringe theories of Austrian inventor Victor Schauberger. His name pops up a lot if you read about anti-gravitics and conspiracies in the Second World War. Google his name, by all means. It was purportedly designed explicitly for deep space travel. The narrative posits that the V7, harnessing the Vril energy derived from channeled Alderbaran blueprints, represented the final achievement of Nazi occult science. The 1945 Exodus, the journey to Taurus. The narrative achieves its dramatic conclusion with the purported events of 1945. As the Third Reich faced annihilation, the core members of the fictitious Vril Society and select SS elite allegedly executed a final desperate escape. They used their Vril-powered saucer craft. They first fled to mythological subterranean Nazi base in Antarctic New Swabia. The most audacious and mystifying element of the entire hypothesis is the claim that from this remote Antarctic refuge, the Vril Society launched the interstellar vehicle, successfully achieving interstellar travel to Alderbaran in 1945. In this narrative, Alderbaran, the venerable royal star, ceases to be a mere celestial coordinate. It becomes the eternal, ultimate and unattainable safe harbour, representing the ideological victory for the secret Aryan elite who escaped history to return to their supposed Hyperborean origin point in constellation Taurus. Conclusion: Alderbaran, the Eye of Mystery, the dual roles of the celestial guide. So Alderbaran exists in a state of cognitive dissonance, serving humanity in two diametrically opposed capacities. As an immutable scientific fact, and as a malleable mythical canvas. For millennia, the star's reddish light, or orange, some people describe it as being orange, has served as the eye of Taurus, providing guidance and defining seasons across cultures from Mesopotamia to Mexico. I think it's why Red Bull gives you wings. Its status as one of the four royal stars imbued it with metaphysical associations of leadership, protection, and emotional fortitude. This historical permanence, a beacon of vigorous energy and reliability, lends profound unsettling gravity to this modern mythic appropriation. The star's role as a dependable celestial anchor makes it the ideal object for esoteric fixation. It is eternally fixed, far removed from the terrestrial failures and historical judgments suffered by the Nazi regime. By claiming Alderbaran as their ultimate destination, the purveyors of esoteric neo-Nazism anchor their ideology not in fleeting terrestrial political reality, but in the boundless, non-falsifiable magnitude of deep space. The magnanimous mystery and the vacuum of knowledge. The Alderbaran hypothesis, culminating in the alleged 1945 interstellar escape, represents a sophisticated final form of historical denialism and occult wish fulfillment. It skillfully merges disparate events. Bowers-Lytton's Vril, this shit book, it's hard to read but interesting in concept. Blavatsky's channeled psychic energy, the Thule Society's racial zeal, and Himmler's ambiguous architectural symbolism. The Black Sun, into cohesive yet entirely fictitious secret history. This narrative thrives in the ultimate vacuum of knowledge. the inconceivable distances and unknown realities of the stellar void. The transition from the terrestrial collapse of 1945 to a successful flight to the stars is a magnificent and impossible leap of faith, defying established physics and verifiable records. Either that or it's just a massive secret. Alderbaran, the giant red star, stands as the magnanimous mystery, forever watching as a guardian of the cosmos, simultaneously upholding the oldest verifiable records of human astronomy and providing the ultimate unchallengeable sanctuary for a phantom empire. It is in the stark contrast between its empirically known light, a flower of the Pleiades, and its mythologically assigned role, the ultimate leader of an escaped civilization, that the deepest, most awe-inspiring mystery surrounding Alderbaran endures. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you'd like to know more about stars and spaceships, and don't fucking ask me because I haven't got one. Not a neo-Nazi or a racist or a spaceman or anything. I'm a psychiatric patient, and I've just had my hair cut. I feel much better for that. I still look like I'm pushing 40 and I still haven't been sleeping properly. But lots of love to you and everyone watching, and you know, maybe truth is stranger than fiction, or maybe, you know, fiction is just absent from the truth. So a great quote the other day by Brian Cox. He was sort of like, the thing about debates is that they can be settled with facts. And yeah, I think there's a profundity in that. Once you have facts, they are immovable. They're not malleable. The truth doesn't change no matter how many times you contradict it or deny it or refute it. And through venerating the truth and the facts in any situation, you normally come to the answer, and it's normally the right answer. So look out for my book. I'll put it on Amazon probably when I can be asked. I have to like read it all into a voice typer, then translate it, then edit it. I've got to, like, where am I up to? About halfway through. I'm about halfway through. I'm just a lazy shit. I'm not. Well, yeah. Like, anyway, that's the book. It's not about Nazis. It's about people living in the middle of the earth. They're really powerful, and women are superior. Interestingly, women are like, they run the show there. You know. Anyway, bye.